both in the House, in private meetings and in public, the Prime Minister and other government ministers spent their time defending this proposed deal, not on the grounds of its merits, but on the grounds that if you don't have that deal, you have either no deal or no Brexit. And this is simply untrue. Indeed, it's facile. And the purpose of this meeting today is, in effect, to show that it's not true. To present, for the first time, actually, in this whole debate, a combination of a plan and a negotiating strategy together to show how they can be delivered. And it's on that basis that Don was able to say to you that there is an opportunity here to win a brighter and better future, not simply just to see off a difficult present. And that strategy and that combination of strategy and policy, it works in a way that the other alternatives talked about by other groups, whether it's Norway Plus or second referenda or other things, don't do. If you apply the analysis of both negotiation and policy to them, you find it deliver. You heard from Peter that we have nothing to fear in the World Trade Organization, but I just enjoyed the aside of a fact that's been hiding in plain sight throughout this, which is that when he negotiated the Uruguay round, which those of you who know about trade policy will know effectively cut the average level of tariffs dramatically around the world, that had a much bigger impact on British trade than the single market did, which is why in the last 20 years you've seen us go from 60-40 of our trade to Europe to 60-40 of our trade to the rest of the world. So it's a dramatic demonstration. But he made it very plain that the World Trade Organization issue, the so-called no deal issue, is not one to be feared, is not the Armageddon that's been said. The current proposal has got many, many, many failings, but the big ones are it gives us no legal protection against a never-ending backstop, and indeed from that a never-ending customs union membership. As Ali made very plain, it's unacceptable to those of us who call ourselves unionists, and that's the DUP, but others too, because it separates out Northern Ireland from the United Kingdom. It concedes everything the European Union wants, including £39 billion handed over without condition, and as a result ruins our negotiating position for the next stage, the future economic partnership. So you must expect that if this deal goes through, the European Union will get everything it wants in the next stage, and we will not get anything that we want in the next stage. That's because the government's been driven by largely irrational fears over World Trade Organization, and Peter demonstrated why that was one of the reasons why that was wrong. Dominic said quite rightly that we want to stay friends with our allies, neighbours and friends in the European Union, and so we do. But we shouldn't underestimate the extent to which the risks in a World Trade Organization are strategically asymmetric as well. Because Britain is protected by three things that the European Union member states are not. We have a floating currency, which will act to buffer any changes. We have the right to make our own decisions in the interests of our own business and nobody else in the aftermath. And we, of course, have the upsides of the future trade deals with the rest of the world. Against that, our friends, who we want to protect through this, like the Republic of Ireland, will suffer through their agricultural exports being diminished. Belgium and Netherlands will suffer because of cross-channel trade being inhibited if it goes the way the Armageddon specialists say. Northwest France, the same. Peter laid out in detail how the Calais authorities see this. And Spain has other strong links which will be at risk if the Armageddon scenario plays through. And, of course, all the new member states are beneficiaries of that £39 billion. So there are many, many reasons for a WTO stroke no deal outcome not being, I think Peter's comment was it's not a stable state. It won't last very long if it does happen, which is important in the negotiating context. Indeed, I suspect we won't go there. The other point that Shanker made, very, very important point, again, which doesn't get seen or repeated often enough, is that in this argument, we are seen as the odd man out in Europe. The truth is the European Union, in trade terms, is the odd man out in the rest of the world. Its whole approach, essentially a protectionist approach to free trade, is at odds with all of the most progressive countries in the world. And so we would find ourselves in the immediate aftermath of departure. We would find ourselves in alliances with people who are more pro-free trade than the European Union, have got a more intelligent approach to free trade agreements as a result, and incidentally, who collectively are bigger and faster growing than the European Union. So it's a very, very good alliance to be in. And so if we are in the position of negotiating through the next 2 years, not in the position that the government's proposal puts us in, but in a freer arrangement, whether it's WTO or other, there will be many, many opportunities for us arising from that, and our negotiating position will be stronger as a result. Now, Shanker laid out the alternative policy and negotiating strategy, but key to that, and I can pick this up, key to that is having a very, very precise and clear idea of what it is that we want out of this. And Arlene's right. The Union has held the pen through this process to some extent because Number 10 has been unwilling to. And we must go back to them with a proposed free trade treaty, the legal text thereof. Some of that already exists. There's already an alternative withdrawal agreement. Shanker's published that. But we will have a legal free trade text end of the month, something like that. It's already into several hundred pages status. So we will have this available. We will be able to go back and say, this is what we want. And by the way, Republic of Ireland, this is in your advantage. And by the way, Belgium and Netherlands is to your advantage. And by the way, Spain is to your advantage. And by the way, Bavaria and North Rhine-Westphalia, it actually allows you to sell cars and dairy products too. So it's beneficial to everybody. And that's where we should be going. In strands 2 and 3 of the diagrams of the process that you have in the electronic versions of, of the presentation today, you'll be able to see that the crystalline point here is when we go back to them with a clear offer, taking up Mr. Tusk and Mr. Barnier's comments in both March and October, that they are willing to see a strong free trade deal. I think Tusk used Canada plus, the phrase we coined on the fly. Then we will be in a strong position to carry this negotiation, and it will play into what the European Union's history tells you. And that is they only negotiate sensibly and reasonably in the last month, week, day, sometimes hour of the negotiation. Those of you who talked to me about this process 2 years ago will remember I told you that then, and I said this will be the key time. So it is, and the point of today is to make sure we pick up Dominic's ambition, pick up the opportunity to win a brighter and better future. Thank you. There you go.